The purchase contract I'm going to do page by page in the interest of trying to save time and also help you to maybe find a specific paragraph or page you might have questions about. Plus, if I somehow forget how to speak and the video ends up being trash, I don't want to trash the whole thing, but maybe I can just trash one page of the contract and start over. So I'm going to do this from the perspective of writing it and also presenting it. So that way, depending on which side of the deal you're on, you'll know what terms are important and how to focus on it and how to properly convey the message to either side. So let's just jump right into the purchase contract page by page. So this is a 7-page document at the time of this video being recorded. It's always possible it could be amended in the future. And in that case, we'll do a new video. However, right now, we'll start with page 1 of our residential sales contract. So you want to make sure you don't skip the crucial stages on the top, which is filling in the date and filling in the MLS number. Now, if you are making an offer on a property that is for sale by owner or an unlisted property, maybe new construction that's not on the MLS, then that you would just write NA right there. The big bold paragraph right here at the top explains that this is a legally binding form, that they also have the right to seek counsel by attorneys or tax professionals or whoever they need to talk to in order to feel confident and comfortable making a purchase of residential real estate. Calculating days, this is an important piece. It's midnight to midnight and it starts the day after a signature. So, for instance, today, as of this video, it is August the 15th. And if I get this contract or this offer I'm about to write accepted, then our contract date is August the 15th, but day 1 starts tomorrow. So day 1 does not start the day that the signature is obtained, it starts the day after. And all days are calendar days, not business days. So that's very important to remember, especially when you start getting into winter months, when you've got Thanksgiving and Christmas and businesses are closed, like home inspectors and things like that. So just be aware of what time of the year it is and what holidays or special events might be coming up that could impact your timelines for inspections. So jumping right into the lines to fill out, the first section, lines 12 through 19, is just agent contact information. And it's a really good best practice to fill in every line in some way, shape, or form. So for instance, if the listing agent is just Bob Smith and he has no co-listing agent, then it's a good idea to just write NA. So just get yourself in the habit of filling out every line, whether or not it is necessarily pertinent to your transaction or not. So all of this is going to be found on the MLS. Again, if it is a FSBO and it is not listed, NA, 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 all the way across the listing section. We have it pre-populated right now, since if you're writing the offer, it's most likely because you are representing the buyer. So we've got a few of these lines filled in with our brokerage, our license number, with our office cell phone number. Steve is our co-agent on all of these properties because if he is on the agreement, then he now has the right to talk to consumers or other agents in the event that he needs to step in, since he is now on this contract. So your information as the buyer agent will get filled in all the other blocks. So skipping on down to the property term on the first page, it is imperative that the address of the property is on every page of the contract, and this is the first page where it will be filled in, is right here. Also good to include the deed book, page number, block, lot, and sublot. This is listed on the MLS listing at the very bottom of the page. And the reason that this is here is because the title agency needs to run title on the property, and this is giving them a location to start so they can pull up the deed, they can find all the parties involved to the contract, and make sure that clear title is given to your buyer at closing. Now, in the event that you run into a lazy agent who has put in maybe a deed book and page number but zeros for everything else, be good and be kind and be nice and go to the PVA and look up the remaining information and fill in the remaining blocks here, because you don't want to make the title office, you don't want to give the title office incorrect information, and just, it's good agent karma to take care of the people that are helping facilitate the transaction. So if you don't know how to find that information on the PVA, be sure to ask and we'll make sure you know how to do that. Also fill out the county, so Jefferson, Bullitt, Oldham, Spencer, etc., etc. The purchase contract outlines everything that is considered a fixture right here in lines 26 through 30. So if you listen to the listing contract for the Heart of Kentucky listing paperwork, you'll notice that it indicates the security system as whether or not it will or won't stay. However, in our MLS, security system is considered a fixture and it does stay. So if you are writing the offer, make sure you explain that the seller can't take their light fixtures, or they can't take their carpet, or they can't take their shrubs, or they can't take their wall mounts for their television brackets. Those are all considered fixtures. And if you are representing the seller, make sure you tell your seller they cannot take their bathroom mirror, they cannot take their mailbox, they can't take their invisible fencing, they can't take their curtain rods. So all of these things are outlined as fixtures, and it makes sure that everyone is crystal clear on what stays and what goes. Now, even if the MLS advertises that the seller is willing to leave all of their appliances in the kitchen, you have to indicate that you want them to stay here. Okay, the MLS is just an advertisement, it is not a contract. So if you want their kitchen appliances, refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, and microwave, you need to indicate that you want them here. Now, if you are representing the seller and you see this come in, you'll notice that there is a parenthesis S on the ends of these, which means if they have a garage fridge and a kitchen fridge, both of those are required to stay. Or if they have a kitchenette in the basement with multiple sets of appliances, those are required to stay because of that plural right there on the end. So make sure that is crystal clear to your sellers when you are presenting an offer. If you want the washer and dryer, these are common things to remain. You would fill those in right there. Now, say your buyer wants to ask for all kinds of crazy things like the sofa and the patio furniture and hot tubs and blah, 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 blah. Anything beyond a washer and dryer and maybe a hot tub, you would need to put in a separate document outside of the purchase contract, because now it gets into those items having value and potentially impacting the purchase price and the appraisal of the home. So for instance, if you're buying like a 20-acre farm property or something, and there's a really nice tractor that you want to ask for to stay behind as part of the deal, don't write tractor right here, because that's an expensive piece of farm equipment. An appraiser might look at that and think that this $20,000 tractor is impacting our purchase price down here. So anything beyond, I would say that is about as extreme as you can get, with maybe drapery or curtains. That's about as far as I would go with personal property that isn't considered a fixture being written into the purchase contract. Anything above that you need to do in a separate document that stays away from the lender. Okay? Now, say the MLS advertises that the chandelier in the dining room is grandma's chandelier from 100 years ago, and they want to take that with them because it's a family heirloom, or there's a rose bush out front that has sentimental value, and the seller advertises that they are taking that. You can ask them to remove things. So rose bush out front, chandelier in kitchen or dining room, and maybe you don't want the satellite dish on the top of the house, so you want the satellite dish removed. So you can ask for fixtures to be removed. And if you are buying a rural property where propane is the main source of energy, it is crucial to ask if you want the fuel in the tank to remain, because while the tank might be leased and can be taken away, or the tank, even if the tank is owned and it stays, the fuel inside the tank is not considered a fixture, and the seller would have the right to take the fuel out of the tank if you don't ask for it. So we'll say that it is an owned tank and it shall remain. Right down here is your financing terms from paragraph or line 38 to 56, which continues on to the following page. So let's say we're making an offer on a $200,000 house and we want to offer full price. Earnest money deposit, we're going to do $2,000 down. I recommend 1% of your purchase price. However, I know that is not always possible for all of your buyers, especially if you've got VA buyers or USDA buyers or people doing down payment assistance, that can be tricky for them to come up with that money for an earnest money deposit. However, again, if they can do 1%, I think it just makes it look a little bit stronger. So let's say we're going to do 10% down. So we've got 10% down right here, and we're going to do a conventional loan for the rest of the balance. So you're going to hit financed, conventional. Most loans are fixed rate loans. However, have that conversation with your lender and make sure that you're displaying the right financing terms here. And then any other weird product would go right here. So I'm going to do this a couple different ways just to give you a few examples. So in this example, we're going to do a fixed rate conventional 30-year mortgage with interest rates not to exceed 4%. No other terms with an adjustable rate loan because it's a fixed rate loan. And we're going to give this buyer 3 days to officially apply for their loan. And we're going to use Eric as our lender. And, oops, that's not his phone number. All right, now, in this paragraph right here, homelending.com. All right, can't multitask. Gary Keller says that's impossible. So in this paragraph, there's a couple of things that are important to notate and highlight. So number one, if, for instance, let's make a slight change here and saying we don't have the cash on hand. Cash, by the way, means it is in your bank account right now. You could write the check tomorrow if you need to. It is completely liquid, okay? If it is not in their bank account right now at this very moment, at the moment of the offer being made, it is not cash, okay? It is other or an equity line or gift. So in this case, let's say it's a gift from grandma. And grandma is going to give us 10% down, okay? This contract states that if you are getting your money as a gift from somebody, that this contract is not contingent upon that gift going through. So if you are representing the seller and you're seeing gift funds as a source of a down payment, then it would be very wise to ask for proof that that gift has been received within like 72 hours of acceptance. So that way you can make sure that there's not going to be anything wonky that goes on, 30 days into this contract where all of a sudden grandma reneges on her promise to give 10% down. So just kind of be aware of that if it's a source. Say you are selling a house in order to purchase, and it's contingent upon that house selling. However, let's say that you can pay cash once that house sells. That is still not a cash offer. That is other, because you do not have that cash in hand right now. You can say 100% down, or you could say, in this case, because we're putting $2,000 of earnest money, we're going to say $198,000 of it will be cash, and then we would fill in a box here that says sale of home. They need to know where the money is coming from, okay? Let's get a little bit more obscure here. Let's say we're doing an FHA loan. So we'll switch over to FHA. We'll say we've got our 3.5% down for cash, and then we're going to finance the rest, okay? So in this example, we're doing an FHA loan, and if in this example the buyer is thinking, well, I'm not sure if I want to do FHA or if I want to do conventional, always put the lesser of the two products. So these are kind of in order of strongest to weakest, conventional being the strongest, FHA being that, followed by that, and then VA on this is kind of the lesser of all of the products. And the reason you want to put the lesser here if they're toying between the two is because if you mark that it's going conventional and the buyer decides to go FHA, that has an impact on the seller. The appraisal is going to be a little bit more stringent. The closing could take a little bit longer. So that impacts the seller's situation. And that is spelled out in here as well, that you need to define what type of loan you're getting, and you can go up. So if you do FHA and they want to move to conventional, that's no big deal. You can make that switch. Or if they decide, well, I don't know if I want to put 3.5% down or 5% down with my FHA loan. Always put the least and worst amount that it could be, so that way if it's better, that's great. But if it goes backwards, that can impact the seller. And then within your loan pre-qualification phase, any buyer that we work with should be pre-approved before seeing any homes. That is a colossal waste of your time if you're showing buyers homes that you're not sure they can actually purchase. However, a loan pre-approval is not the same as locking in a loan for the house, and that's because you don't have a specific address when a pre-approval letter is first written. So this gives them a time frame to actually get with the lender and apply for their loan officially for this particular property. And it's always a good idea to include the lender contact information here on the purchase contract, because now the listing agent knows that your buyer has taken that step, and if you are receiving an offer as the listing agent, you now have a source to contact to ask any questions you want about the buyer's ability to purchase.